Hello and welcome to this video on AI for writing, where we'll focus on writing for clarity. So we've all been there, writing an email and then second guessing it. Is this too long? Am I being clear? Sometimes our messages can end up vague, overly wordy, or just poorly structured. This can make it difficult for our recipient to grasp the key points or know what action to take next. So in this video, we are going to look at how AI tools like ChatGPT can help us improve the overall clarity of our emails. So now I'm going to switch over to ChatGPT. So I want you to imagine now that you've written this email, which I'm going to paste into ChatGPT. So I'm going to read this out. Hi everyone. So I was looking over everything we talked about during the meeting and also some of the notes and documents that were shared. And I just wanted to bring up a few things I noticed that seemed a little confusing. I'm not totally sure what the final deliverable is supposed to be or if we're all aligned on what each person is doing. Also, I didn't see a timeline laid out. Are there specific dates we're aiming for, or are we just trying to get it done sometime soon? And finally, I don't know if we've been given any clear direction from leadership on expectations or goals for this project, but it might help to get some input on that too. Let me know what you all think and if we should maybe get together to go over this. Okay, so the email is too long, it's unnecessarily wordy, and it lacks a clear structure. Also, if we take a look, there's multiple distinct points that have been crammed together into very long sentences. So for example, I'm not totally sure what the final deliverable is supposed to be or if we're all aligned on what each person's doing. Also, I didn't see a timeline laid out. Are there specific dates we're aiming for, or are we just trying to get it done sometime soon? And finally, I don't know if we've been given any clear direction from leadership on expectations or goals for this project, but it might help to get some input on that too. So there's technically a lot of questions being asked within these sentences, but only one question mark has been given, and these questions haven't been separated out. They've been clumped together into these sentences. So it means that the questions are almost kind of fade into the background and they're lost. So in other words, for the individual that's reading this, it makes it very difficult to grasp what the key messages are or what the key topics are. Also, if we take a look at the call to action, it's also very vague. It's not asking a clear, explicit question. It's just saying, maybe we should come together to go over this, and without asking a direct question, the individual or the recipient who is reading this, they don't know what is expected of them. And it's very unclear, what are the next steps to take? None of that information is clear here. So we need to iron out these issues and let ChatGPT help us to improve the overall clarity of the email. So to make sure that the email meets all the criteria for clarity, we need to begin by defining what clarity actually means. So I'm going to delete that and I'm going to say to ChatGPT, what is meant by clarity in an email? And I'm doing this so that I can feed back this information to ChatGPT and it can use it in order to improve the email that I initially wrote. So key aspects of clarity, we've got clear subject line, concise sentences, logical structure, specific details, and a clear call to action, which none of this was apparent in the previous email. So we need to improve on that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put the email back into ChatGPT. So bear with me a moment. And we're going to give it a new prompt. So please rewrite this email following all the criteria above. and let's see what it brings up. Okay. Okay, so this is definitely a lot better. We have a clear subject line, clarification needed on project deliverables, roles, and timeline. So the person who's reading this, they'll know on first glance what this email is actually about. It's about clarification on deliverables, roles, and timeline. So that's very, very clear. Then we have, hi everyone, after reviewing our meeting notes and shared documents, I have a few questions to ensure we're all aligned. So the person that's reading this knows that questions are to follow, and it's a nice introductory phrase to that. And each of these questions has its own bullet point. So the questions haven't been merged together into overly long sentences. Do we have a timeline with specific deadlines, or is the goal to complete it as soon as possible? Again, clear questions. So this means that the individual who's reading this, they can then answer each of these bullet point questions by typing in a response underneath each of these questions. They might maybe do that in another color. So it means that actually all of the questions are going to be answered and they're not going to be missed, because they were, clunked together in very long sentences. One thing I would do here is I would maybe highlight or put in bold final deliverable, responsibilities, timeline, just so that when an individual looks at that, they scan those words, and it'd just be a lot quicker, I think. So also please share your thoughts. If we need it, we can schedule a meeting to discuss these points further. So I think here it's important to maybe suggest an actual time to meet, a date or a time, and to, if that date or time doesn't work, well, then get them to suggest a date or time. And the reason for this is that it just means that the individuals who are part of this project, that they can actually make progress and take action, whereas this here is still too vague. It's not to the point. So I'm going to say, please suggest date and time for a meeting, and just press enter. Yeah, please share your thoughts. If needed, we can schedule a meeting to discuss these points further. How does Thursday, August 15th at 3 p.m. sound? Again, excellent. You've asked a direct question and you will get hopefully a direct response. And there's no ambiguity or vagueness around what you are expecting from the individual. You are expecting them to now come back with answers to each of these questions, and also an answer as to whether or not they're going to be free on this particular date at this particular time. So overall, again, this version is much more direct. It's much more to the point. The sentences are shorter and they're focused on single ideas. Again, we could add things like bold or maybe descriptive headings if we wanted to, or we could maybe number these instead of bullet points. But overall, the email is, it's a lot easier to scan and the information is going to be easier to understand and retain. Thank you all for watching, and you can check out more videos on www.adultdyslexiahub.ie.